This is question 68 on chemistry from the 2012 IMAT. So we're asked which rows on this table are correct describing the reactions of aqueous acids. So we have ethanoic acid, nitrous acid and sulfuric acid reacting with both amines and amides. So which of these are correct? So firstly, what do all these molecules we have look like? So ethanoic acid is our classic carboxylic acid with the COOH group. Then what about nitrous acid? Now don't confuse this with nitric acid, which is HNO3. Nitrous is actually HNO2. And what about sulfuric acid? This is our classic H2SO4. So what sorts of acids are these? So ethanoic acid we know is a weak acid because it's an organic acid. Then nitrous, so we know HNO3 is a strong acid, but HNO2 is actually a weak acid. Then we have sulfuric acid, which we know is one of our strongest acids. Then what about amines and amides? So we know amines is the NH2 group on some organic molecule R. Then amides, what are they? They have this extra carbonyl group attached to the NH2. So let's go through each of these reactions. So what happens when ethanoic acid reacts with amines? So we know this is our classic nucleophilic addition-elimination. So we have the amine coming in, kicking out the hydroxide to form an amide. So we know this is a reaction that happens. Then what about ethanoic acid and amides? So there's no obvious organic reaction that's going to happen. But what about acid-base reactions? So we know ethanoic acid is a very weak acid. What about amides? What are their base properties like? So compared to amines, amides are actually very poor bases. So we're not actually going to get an acid-base reaction either. So this does not react, looks correct. Now what about nitrous acid? So this is actually quite an unusual reagent. So with amines, what happens if we react nitric acid with it? So this reaction actually produces this NH2 plus group, which is called a diazonium cation. Nitrous acid is a good way of making nitrogen-nitrogen bonds in organic compounds. And what about its reactions with amides? So we get a somewhat similar process. We have the amide coming in and we kick out nitrogen because we formed another nitrogen-nitrogen bond and we get this carboxylic acid produced as well. So this again is a reaction that happens. And our final row, what does sulfuric acid do with amines? So it says it does not react, but is this correct? So we know sulfuric acid is a strong acid. Amines are weak bases, but they're still moderately good bases. And so we're actually going to get an acid-base reaction. We're going to form the ammonium salt with the sulfate ion. So this is actually wrong. Now what about this hydrolysis? So we know that sulfuric acid hydrolyzes amines to the carboxylic acid. So this is correct. But we need the rows that are correct, and row 3 is clearly not. So our answer is that rows 1 and 2 are both correct, which corresponds to E on the question paper.